As a proud American of Middle Eastern heritage, it is clear Donald Trump is the right leader to bring peace to a war-torn Middle East. I'm the son of Palestinian Arab immigrants to the United States. My name is Hazem Farraj, and I'm outspoken.
It's a great film, and people can find it on Twitter at Hazam_F. Hazem Farraj, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we want to chat to you about both your support for Trump and your thoughts on the Middle East, the Palestinian situation, and how LGBTIQs are treated in the Middle East. But kick off with your personal story.
Sure. Well, I was born in 1984 in Brooklyn, New York. At the age of 12, my father took the whole family back to Jerusalem to teach us and to indoctrinate us with Islam. The only problem there was I had a dose of Islamism, and I was supposed to not ask questions because of the local politics, the war, all of this. And at the age of 17, once I decided that I was going to do liberty and freedom of religion, freedom of everything that we in the West deem as sacred and honorable, what the West is built upon, I thought that I would find a parade of support in America to support me in what I believe was a struggle. And to my shock, I didn't. And to my shock, I found that if you're an outsider to the system, people really kind of just don't want to talk to you. And so my support, my entry into activism, political activism, happened as a result of what I call an organic revelation. My documentary going to Iraq and seeing the horrible leftist policies that was enabling literally like a terrorist movement is why I decided to get involved. Now, it's funny because on Facebook now, I'm reliving the last memories, over the last 8-10 years. And so Donald Trump, 4 years ago, I was yelling angry because a man by the name of Donald Trump was gaining momentum. And ultimately, I had to just come clean with the grips that culture is changing. Some outsider is showing up, and I had to give him a shot. I had to give him an ear. So in the process of doing this documentary, I came back to America. I'd been there 8 or 9 times over the span of 4 years. The dissonance between the locals there and the truth over there, and what I was hearing in the politics and in the media here was very, very disjointed, discombobulated. One, you had President Obama from the White House swearing to almost daily that, let me be clear, the Islamic State is not Islamic and it's not a state, yet they're issuing identifications and passports, and they have a police force. So for me, as a and no pun intended, but as an outsider in between two cultures, I got to see firsthand the truth. And this is why I was able to overlook Donald Trump's personality and Donald Trump's, all of the things that people argue about him. He was actually doing what needed to be done. And the first thing he did was confront the terrorism. And so that's when me and a whole ocean of Muslims, secular Muslims, ex-Muslims, and to be quite honest, the array of ideas is vast. We just don't know because certain people the insiders are given platform and the outsiders are not. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity. Rita, I think you're a hero. I follow you. Your tweets are I think you're a truth teller, and I'm honored to have had this opportunity. Rita. So ultimately yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the results. You talked about how you overlooked some of Trump's excesses or the things that people obsess about and looked at the substance. And take us through that. Talk to us about some of the success the administration has had in brokering peace and defeating terrorism and getting rid of the caliphate, and why you support someone who you used to scream about.
Yeah, the truth is, Rita, is I watched this unfolding and this unraveling. The only time that radical Islamic terrorism and Islamism had made sense was when Donald Trump showed up on the scene. Consider, and I'll start with what Donald Trump and his cabinet are doing recently, but I want to go back to where I started awakening to this reality. For example, I'm interviewing the man who the Kurds have on Mount Sinjar, ground zero, where ISIS attacked. I'm interviewing a general who is ruling the mountain and liberated it from ISIS. So as a journalist, I asked him, I said, hey, his name was General Shamo. I said, General Qama Shamo, what would you tell America? One line, what would you tell them? And he said, without hesitation, without any, just straight up said it. He said, tell America that they, the terrorists, ISIS, have vowed to come in through the immigration, through the borders. And so I come back to America, and the only person bold enough to say this is people that I know who really don't have at the time a voice to speak into it, and a guy that everyone dislikes named Donald Trump. And so suddenly, because I'm telling the truth and Donald Trump is saying the same thing, I'm a bigot and we are all KKK. So I'll bring it up today. Yesterday, for example, like the America First agenda is not an America only agenda. It's an America healthy agenda. I liken it to, like, for example, yesterday, Donald Trump released what he called the platinum package for the black community. What did he do? He declared the KKK a terrorist organization. The second thing he did, he declared Antifa a terrorist organization. And he invested $500 billion into the community. Where did Obama-Biden put $400 billion and ultimately more? They gave it to people who are throwing gays across the buildings, rooftops.
In Iran.
And this is yes, in Iran. And at the same time, our government was doing the Iran deal that I strongly was against, and it seems like still a dissonance that was ever a good thing. Biden wants to go back to that. As a truth-telling Middle Easterner like Rita, or someone who's experienced what I believe is a clash of at least cultures, we truth-tellers are looked at as if we're crazy, bigoted, unintelligent. And the fact is, we are the ones to listen to because we've done the hard work of meshing the two together and making peace out of it and making sanity out of it. So why did I ultimately vote for Donald Trump and ultimately be boisterous about it is because I'm voting for America. James. I don't see the hatred for America within Donald Trump. I see it within the left. In fact, I wrote a book about it, I created a documentary about it, and I can blame no one other than leftist policy, weak policy that gave us what we now know as ISIS. I'm not saying anything crazy other than if you rule ignorantly, the smarter people will take advantage of it. So as early as 2016, pre-November, people in Iraq were telling me, we hope Trump wins.
Wow,
so the whole thing, it's been a process.
Just to jump in on that, why do you think that the insider class, to call it that, had such a bias for both Iran and for basically doing all of these things that empowered America's enemies? What do you think is the mindset of these insiders that sees themselves having to essentially abase themselves before America's enemies? And was it hard for you? Was it harder for you coming out as a Donald Trump supporter? Did you get a lot of blowback when you said, no, actually, I'm a Donald Trump supporter? Was that tough for you personally?
That's a really good question, because 20 years ago, I was the guy who was rebelling and saying, why is there terrorism within our verses? And I wasn't trying to create problems. I was actually genuinely seeking. And the amazing thing to me is when you see, for example, when I had my big crisis of Islam, I thought the left was going to support it. I thought that's what we believed. I thought at one time I was a progressive, and then realized maybe our definitions for what progress is not the same. So for me, I truly, and an ocean, mind you, even in the Middle East, there's an ocean of gay people who are afraid to come out, and an ocean of actual feminists who are afraid to come out. And I'll answer your question based on how I genuinely believe. I think the people who have been negotiating for our peace don't actually believe in peace.
Wow.
That's the simple truth.
Hazem Farraj, that is fascinating.